Okay. Who likes dead bodies? No? Okay. Oh, good. We have one thing. Okay. Well, there's a lot of people out there who like to do things to dead bodies. And I'm going to tell you about some of these today. So as a student of forensic anthropology, I've always been fascinated by shows like CSI and Bones and imagined that as my career. Unfortunately, it does not really work how the shows portray it out to be. The reality involves working with dead bodies a lot. So I began looking into the history of this and how they've been used. So cadavers are really important for research. They can do things no living person can do. And I'll be informing you about some of the uses of cadavers, and beginning all the way in 300 BC to present day. And hopefully you'll gain an understanding of why they were doing these things and shed some positive light on what's really an unpleasant topic for a lot of people. So I will begin by telling you about the first autopsy and the history of cadavers for medical research. Okay, so the first known autopsy occurred in Alexandria in Egypt in 300 BC. King Ptolemy ordered the bodies of executed criminals to be dissected so they can find out how bodies worked. They had no idea at the time. Now jumping along to 1752 in England, they passed the Murder Act. Before this, there was no dissections or anything happening. So this act stated that the bodies of executed criminals, especially murderers, were not to be buried but dissected for research. It was really supposed to deter people from committing crimes. So the number of private anatomy schools at the time was also increasing, and so much so that the demand for bodies, just for educational purposes, was so high that they were running out. Emma Humphreys, who's a student at Aberdeen Medical College, wrote in her 2014 paper that was published in the Journal of Royal College of Physicians in Edinburgh that due to the demand of cadavers, body snatching became a common practice. So thieves and sometimes medical students who were encouraged by their professors were paid to acquire freshly buried bodies. The most extreme cases actually involved murdering unsuspecting victims to use their cadavers for research. So a great number of notable serial killers came out at the time. So as the public heard more and more about body snatching, they did not want to be buried in regular cemeteries. Of course, I mean, I'm sure you wouldn't want to be. Which led to the development of anti-grave robbing devices such as the mort safe, which the picture is right there. So it's just like an iron cage that was placed with a concrete slab on top that was placed over fresh graves to deter grave robbers. And also cemeteries built watchtowers, and the term graveyard shift comes from this time in history, so there would be people watching all night. This eventually led to the passing of the Anatomy Act in 1832. So this let donated and unclaimed bodies be used for dissection. So this period in history obviously did not reflect well on the idea of donating your body for science. However, even though the cadavers were obtained unethically, they were really responsible for expanding a lot of the knowledge about anatomy and disease processes at the time. So, negative public opinion about body donation seemed to change around the 1960s. So this was when the first heart transplant occurred, and people also had a greater understanding of science, so hopefully that was changing the opinion. So now we'll be moving on to more modern times. So beginning around 60 years ago, researchers from automobile manufacturers started using cadavers as crash test dummies. A lot of you are sitting there thinking, don't they have actual dummies for this purpose? So a dummy can tell you how much force there is in an impact, but that does not exactly translate to how much how much force an actual person's body can take. So the first contribution to automobile safety made by cadavers was the windshield. The earliest cars didn't even have windshields. They drove around with driving goggles on. And then they used normal, just glass, like window glass. And using hard glass like this led to a lot of people getting hairline fractures and concussions from just any type of impact. So now in our modern cars we use tempered glass windshields, which are a little softer and prevents injuries. So another number of other safety features, including lap seat belts, airbags, dashboard padding, they developed from this research as well. According to popular science author Mary Roach's 2003 book, cadaver research has saved an estimated 8,500 lives a year since 1987. So she actually quoted the article by Albert King, Humanitarian Benefits, in her book. And the safety features implemented have made it possible for us today to survive a head-on collision into a wall at 60 miles per hour. So now that we have a good historical background, I'll be jumping ahead to my favorite topic, present-day uses of cadavers in forensic settings. So I'll be talking about body farms. A body farm is a research facility that studies human decomposition. So this is in the field of forensic anthropology, which is my field of study. A forensic anthropologist works with the legal system to identify remains that are in advanced stages of decomposition, and they basically assess age, sex, stature, and ancestry. So a lot of people don't like to think about what happens to their bodies after death, and you'll probably be embalmed if you're living in America. But that only delays the process. I mean, it's not nice, but everyone will decompose eventually. So, according to Joseph Stromberg, a science journalist at Vox Media's website, in an article he wrote in October 2014, the first body farm was founded by William Bass in 1980 at the University of Tennessee, and currently there's 5 or 6 at different universities around the country. So he was a forensic anthropologist, and he worked with law enforcement to study remains for especially homicide victims. And he noticed that there was no information on the stages of decomposition, only the end result. So the body farm, it's like a 1.3-acre area of land, and it's fenced in. And they basically just observe decay in a variety of settings. They try to mimic like homicide, body dumps, bodies in trunks, all over the place. So here they're laid out. They actually put cages over them so animals won't get to them. And then the skeletal remains are also studied after the process happens. So his body farm project, it really legitimized the field. And so now they have a lot more information that can be used to solve homicide cases. And they've processed over 650 donated bodies. So this type of research and how it's applied, it is just helps living people. And I think this is why people that can handle working with cadavers. So in conclusion, using cadavers is not as disrespectful and horrifyingly gruesome as it seems. It's very positive, and it aids in medical research. It can help solve homicides, and it even can help people keep people safe who are alive. So a lot of the research would not have been possible with 3D models, dummies, or even living people. So now you have a better understanding about the uses of human cadavers, and hopefully it doesn't gross you out as much to think about it.